Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In this episode, like I said in the last episode, we're going to be going into the Woodfall Temple, but first I need to play the Song of Soaring to go back to the Woodfall Swamp owl statue, because we need to go back and give the picture that we took of the Deku King to that guy that was at the desk in the tourist area or whatever. I wouldn't do this right now normally, but the thing is, after you beat the Woodfall Temple, you can't go back and give him that picture. Basically, once we beat the Swamp Temple or the Woodfall Temple, the water will not be poisoned anymore. And that is kind of like a trigger. After you unpoison the water, for some reason, he doesn't want to take your pictures anymore. So, we have to do that now. I guess we could go like halfway through the temple or whatever, right before the final boss. But once I go into the temple, I kind of want to just get through it without having any more outside distractions. Well then, why don't you show me the pictograph you've taken? And if you remember, we took a picture of the Deku King. Oh, the king! You are amazing! If you're not a Deku scrub, you're not allowed to enter the Deku Palace, but somehow you took this picture. This is a great shot. This is as rare as they come. I'm giving you a big prize. And that big prize is a piece of heart. You could even say that he has a big heart. I don't even know where I'm going with that little joke right there, but we're gonna go ahead and leave. We cannot use the Song of Soaring inside, as far as I know. The weird thing is, sometimes it seems like it's kind of inconsistent when you can use the Song of Soaring, but if I had to imagine, if I had to guess, we would not be able to use the Song of Soaring inside that building. And by the way, I should also mention, if you are inside of a temple, and you use the Song of Soaring more often than not, actually pretty much every time as far as I know, you will be teleported back to the entrance of the temple. So that's a really easy way of getting out of the temple if you, for some reason, need to do that. But speaking of temples, we need to go ahead and put on our Deku mask and fly over there into the Woodfall Temple. Now, we did summon the Woodfall Temple in the last episode when we learned the Sonata of Awakening from that monkey in the prison. And this, of course, is the first temple in the entire game, which means it's going to be a little bit easy. But I really do like it. It teaches you a lot of mechanics, I guess, you're going to need for the rest of the game, much like the Deku Tree did in the first game, which I really like that about the Zelda series. Usually the first dungeon really teaches you a lot of stuff about the game. But the first thing that I want to show you guys is that there are beehives. I guess that's what these are. And if you shoot them down with either an arrow or the snot bubble, I did not mean to fall off, but I guess I was going to say I don't want to fall off and get this item because it's only going to be a blue rupee, so it wasn't really worth it, but I guess it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, yeah, there are beehives throughout the game, and more often than not, or maybe I shouldn't say more often than not, but oftentimes they will have a Stray Fairy inside of them. But sometimes, believe it or not, I'm going to go ahead and put on my Great Fairy mask, by the way, and go ahead and grab this fairy that's kind of floating out here in no man's land. But speaking of stray fairies, that's what I was going to say about the beehives. Sometimes the beehives will have stray fairies in them, but also sometimes they will actually have bees inside of them. So if you're playing for the first time and you're not using any sort of outside help, you're probably going to get stung a few times before the end of the game, but I'm pretty sure I remember which ones are bees and which ones are fairies, and some of them either have rupees or nothing. So sometimes, I guess it's really more of a grab bag, depending on what you're going to get, but you really do want to get these stray fairies, because I don't know if I've mentioned this, I think I did, but anyway, if I haven't, these stray fairies, when you get all of them for a specific area. And by the way, Tattle says this place stinks just like that poison swamp, which means the water inside this temple is also poison, so you do not want to go in it if you can help it. But I don't remember, oh yeah, if you get all the stray fairies in a temple and you give it back to the Great Fairy in that area, that Great Fairy will give you an upgrade. So I want to try and get as many Stray Fairies, I should say, as possible. Now, I've gotten 3 Stray Fairies at this point. The 4th one is over here in this random pot. That's one thing I'm not sure if I like too much about where they put these Stray Fairies in this game. It seems like it was a tiny little bit random. Like, the 3rd one I got, I kind of glossed over it, but the 3rd one I got was hidden inside of that Deku Baba, or you had to destroy the Deku Baba to get it, which is kind of weird, but I guess it's not that big of a deal. But here we are, we're going to go and examine it. Look at that guy's face over there. This is a snapper, by the way. The weak part of their body is underneath them. That is the perfect smile, or the most perfect smile, I should say, so I feel kind of bad about the fact that we have to use the Deku Scrub, burrow into the flowers, and kind of torpedo up into their soft underbelly to destroy them. I've never seen, I can't believe I missed that right there, I've never seen a snapper smile like that. Usually the snappers have sort of a crazy look in their eye, and that, I don't know, it made me feel a little bit bad having to take that guy out. But speaking of taking these guys out, they're very, very easy, and once you take out all 3, a treasure chest will appear here in the middle of the room, I think. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I actually am going to be standing on top of it when it spawns in here, but the chest here in the middle of the room is going to have the map in it. The map, of course, works just like the map did in every other Zelda game, or as it did in Ocarina of Time, I should say. But as it says here, we can press start to view the subscreens and view the map screen or whatever. We also get one down there in the bottom right, but if we press start here and go to the map subscreen, we will have a map of the dungeon. Also, it'll show us where Link is in the dungeon, and also right there it says that we have 4 out of 15 Great Fairies. I'm gonna do that every time. Stray Fairies. We have 4 out of 15 Stray Fairies in this temple by itself. And I really like that. It keeps track of it for you, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. And not only that, it tells you how many you're supposed to be looking for. But over here, we're going to be getting a small key, which you might have recognized from the original Ocarina of Time, or from Ocarina of Time, I should say. Now, over here is another beehive. If we use the Deku Bubble, we can shoot it down. We can also wait until we get another projectile. That actually, I already said it, we are going to be getting the bow in this dungeon. We could also shoot it down with the bow. Now, I should also mention that these plants or whatever that are in the middle of the room, they kind of look like Venus flytraps or something like that. They're also in this room, and it looks like there's a big one in the middle. If you stand in those as Human Link or anything other than Deku Link, you are going to get gobbled up, and they're going to spit you back into the poison water, which is definitely not a good thing. Now, this room we're in right here is sort of another little tutorial area, I consider it anyway, and there is a lot of poison water, which if you happen to fall off as Human Link, you're probably done, because it kind of staggers Link a little bit when he tries to swim in poison water, and there's only one way to get out of the poison water, which is over there by the door we came in. And if you fall off into the water, you're probably not going to get back in time, and you're probably going to die. But anyway, here we have a block that we can actually push as Deku Link, which is good, I guess. We need to move that into place like so, because we need to come back over here. And by the way, I didn't kind of gloss over that. I killed a Skulltula right there and got a Stray Fairy from him using the Deku Bubble Blast. But we need to use the Deku Stick, which weirdly enough, the Deku Scrub cannot carry a Deku Stick, which makes almost no sense. But we need to carry this fire using the Deku Stick over here to this torch, and immediately press B. I'm kind of spamming B right now because, there we go. I want to go ahead and use the sword right there because I want to get rid of the fire stick as soon as possible so I don't have to waste it. Now here we have an enemy called the Dragonfly, I believe. Yep, Dragonfly. We have seen these already, and I actually made a mistake. I said you cannot kill them with the Bubble Blast, but you actually can. I don't know why I thought you couldn't. Maybe I was referring to the fact that it would be kind of hard to shoot them with a Bubble Blast from as far away as we saw them the first time. But in any case, here we have another treasure chest. I almost couldn't open it. But in this treasure chest, and by the way, speaking of treasure chests being opened as a Deku Scrub, I kind of like the fact that you have to jump all the way in. But here we get the compass. Now many things in the dungeon will be revealed. And in the bottom right, you can see that now there are, first of all, there is a marker for where we came in the room, and there's also a marker for where we are. And there will be markers for treasure chests and stuff later on. But I want to go ahead and turn back into the Deku Scrub. I don't know why I turned back into Human Link, because there is another... I cannot believe I got that. I was kind of waiting with bated breath to see if I would get that. There was another beehive up there that we need to shoot that has a great... There we go again. I'm going to get it right before the end of this Let's Play. There's another Stray Fairy up there in that beehive, which we need to get. And I have the Great Fairy mask on, so I knew it was going to follow us all the way up here. But I just lit this torch right here. I need to take the fire from this, jump over to this weirdly floating platform, which doesn't make much sense, and jump over here. And much like the Deku Tree in the first... I keep saying the first game. If I ever say that and I don't catch myself, I mean Ocarina of Time. And the reason I call it the first game is because it was like the prequel to Majora's Mask. But here there's a lot of evil, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Actually, I don't remember what was... Oh yeah, the Deku Tree in the first game. There was a lot of burning spiderwebs in that, and we just had to do that here. But before I take out these enemies in here, I want to go ahead and take the torch in the middle of the room, take a Deku Stick, light all the torches surrounding the middle torch, and what that will do is open up the door. Now, before we leave the room, though, I need to go ahead and take out all of the dark beings in the room here, which were also in the first room in the dungeon at the very bottom of that room. When I fell down there, they were down there as well. I really like to use the spinning attack to take them all out, because they do have a tendency to kind of gang up on you, and apparently that is not all of them. There's some over here. There we go. But they do have a tendency to kind of gang up on you, and that spinning attack, which if you use it by rotating the control stick and not holding down the B button, more often than not, or actually, I think I've said that already in this episode, but it will not actually use any magic, which is a good thing. Now, for defeating all of them in this room, we get a treasure chest with our 8th Stray Fairy in it, which is I guess we're right on track with these Stray Fairies. Now, this room right here can be a little bit frustrating, I guess is probably the best word to describe this room, because there are kind of pits or holes in the ground, which if you happen to fall down there, which I got very close right here, but if you happen to fall down there, you will go back to that first room where Tattle told us the water was poisoned, which is definitely not a good thing. because you will have to go through the staircases and that one area where that web was we had to burn down all over again just to get back up here. So it's probably best if you never fall down in the first place. Now, it is a little bit difficult when they throw the dragonflies in the room with you. The only thing is, it's pretty easy to kind of fly between them. If they get in your way, though, you can either throw the bubble blasts at them, as we discovered in that first room where we got... What did we get in that room? I think that was the compass room where we had to shoot them down. Or you can also just use the kind of fly out of the Deku Flower technique. Now, here we have our first switch, I believe, in the entire game. We have to be linked to be able to be heavy enough to weigh it down. And when you press it, it kind of spawns a Dark Souls-esque shortcut, because now the ladders are there. So if we fall down there for any reason, I should say, or if we have to leave the dungeon and come back, we can get back up to the second level without having to go through the path that I just described earlier. In the off chance that you fell down in that one room, you can fall, or you can climb, I should say, up the ladder. And now this room kind of looks like one of those battlegrounds where we fought the snappers and the dragonflies. So here we're fighting yet another enemy, and we're going to be getting yet another item. If we examine him, it says that he is called a Dinophos, and we have to defend against him and watch out for his fiery breath. Sounds a lot like a lot of the enemies in the Zelda series. The only thing is, the fire cannot be guarded against using the shield. So if you have to, if he uses the fire, I should say, you're probably going to want to dodge to the left or right, or back up. Now, he can be defeated in 2 jump slashes. The only thing is, it looks like he's dodging my jump slashes very efficiently. If I can't get another jump slash on him very soon, I might just use a different mode of attack. I've never actually seen him use his dodging abilities quite so well before. Usually he goes down within the first, 2 or 3 swings in the fight. If I don't get him with another jump slash, okay, you know what? I guess it's time to use a different sort of attack here, because that jump slash is just not working. It looks like regular side slashes, which I never would have imagined would have worked very well. Now here we're going to be getting a replica of my favorite item from Ocarina of Time. And that item is the Hero's Bow. It's not called the Fairy Bow or whatever it was called in Ocarina of Time anymore. But yeah, like I said, it's probably my favorite item in Ocarina of Time. Might as well go ahead and equip it here, because we're going to have to use it pretty much as soon as we walk out of this room right here. Like I said before, we could use it to shoot beehives and stuff like that, but we can also use it to shoot switches, which is probably what we're going to be using it for more often than shooting beehives. But if we need to use it to shoot a beehive, we can do that. There are probably some other things. Oh, we can also use it to shoot crystals, which are also in Ocarina of Time, so you probably remember that. And there is one crystal we're going to have to be shooting in this episode, so we can demonstrate that before this episode is over. But I need to go ahead and fly out here to this Deku Flower, because we need to use it to get to the other side of the room, which we could not do before because I can't even remember. Oh yeah, I was going to say I cannot remember why the Deku Flower in the middle of the room is now going up and down. That's probably because I just shot the switch. I can't believe I forgot that pretty much immediately. But here we're going to be fighting. Might as well go ahead and examine them really quick. We're fighting the Gecko, which is pretty weak, and I turned into Human Link here because we need to go ahead and use sword slashes, I guess. We don't really need to, actually, but I find that it is much easier to hit him with a sword than that Deku spin. Maybe that's just me. But if you hit him twice, he will summon a big snapper. And maybe it would have been best if I just stayed in Deku form, because we're going to need the Deku form's ability to pop out of the flowers like so to knock the snapper, or knock the Gecko away from his snapper buddy. Once you do that, he's going to climb on the ceiling. If you hit him with an arrow, he'll fall down, and you can pretty much just repeat that until he dies. But I really think this mini-boss is a great way of introducing the concept of using multiple masks and kind of, I guess, multiple strategies to take out a boss, because you have to hit him with an arrow while he's on the ceiling, but you also have to use the Deku's ability to get him off the snapper in the first place. So I really like the way that you have to use multiple forms of Link and multiple forms of attacking to defeat this boss, and that should be the final time that we should have to knock him off the snapper, because one more shot, and I cannot believe I hit that because I wasn't even Z-targeting him or anything, but that last shot, of course, was enough to take him out. Now, when you defeat the snapper, or the Gecko, he will turn into a frog, and those frogs are a little bit more important than you might believe, because they are part of a side quest later on, and once we get a mask later on, we're going to be able to talk to them, which is a kind of a cool concept, I guess. Now, even though I wouldn't normally get these, it's probably not a bad idea, because that is a free 20 rupees, and if you played Ocarina of Time, you probably know what is going to be in this gold and blue chest, and that item is the boss key, which we're going to need to get into the boss room. Now, I just realized that it is 1 o'clock in the morning in game time, and that is going to mean that we cannot go back and save the old lady from the mask, or from the guy that we saw in Clocktown hiding in North Clocktown behind that little pillar in the first or second episode. So unfortunately, I forgot to go back and do that because, like I said, it can only be done from 12 to 12:30 on day 1. So I forgot to do that, but I can do that in another cycle, so it's not really that big of a deal. But over here, I want to show you something pretty interesting. This pillar over here on the right, a lot of speedrunners will use that because there's a way you can, like, glitch into it or something, and you can do bomb hovers and stuff to get into the bomb, or into the boss door, I should say, without first of all having the boss key, which we just got, so I thought I should mention that now. But also, you need a mask from the third area of the game, so that means you have to sequence break first of all and go to that third area before you come to the first temple. So I'm not going to be doing that right now, but maybe in a, I don't know, maybe I'll do a speed run one of these days and actually upload it. I do a lot of speed running in my off time, if you want to call it that. I don't know why I would call it that, because it's not like this is a job or anything. But yeah, I do like to speed run, especially these old glitchy N64 games, and Majora's Mask is a game that definitely is not, averse to having glitches found in it, I guess, if you want to phrase it like that. But pressing this switch over here is going to make that chest appear over there, which is going to have yet another Stray Fairy in it. Before I get that, though, because what did we do to make I forgot what we did to make the water pure again. I don't know how I could forget all of these things. Wait a minute, it was when we lit that torch in the middle of the room. I didn't even explain that, I don't think. I think I was talking about speedrunning or something at the time. But anyway, we had to light that torch, and that made the water pure somehow. But there's another Stray Fairy in here that we can get by using the hero's bow on that bubble, which you can also swim down there and get it, but I like to shoot it with the bow and put on the Great Fairy Mask. That way I don't actually have to get in the water, because for some reason, I don't really like getting in the water in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, because I've always found these swimming controls to be a little bit finicky, especially because you can only either be on top of the water swimming around, or you can be diving, and it's kind of hard to control yourself when you're underwater just diving. And all this applies, by the way, only to all the forms that are not the water form that we will be getting later on. But that is our 11th, or actually it was our 10th, I believe, Stray Fairy. I didn't actually look at the number, but there is going to be a Stray Fairy in this treasure chest right here, which we summoned by shooting that, or actually we pressed the switch over there on that platform to get this. I know that's 11, first of all, because I can see it on the screen. I cannot believe I just fell down. But in the final room of the dungeon, right before the boss door, there's going to be 4 Stray Fairies in that one room. So I always use that as kind of a metric to know I've collected all of them before that specific area. But luckily, I made the jump. Now we need to make this other jump over here, and actually we need to turn right back around and jump back on this flower, because I forgot to shoot through this fire to light yet another torch. What I like to do for this torch right here is stand on the inner ring of this flower, a little bit closer to the torch than I was standing. That way you're not moving quite so quickly, and you can kind of aim through the fire to shoot that other torch over there. If you're standing on the outer edges of the flower, you're going to be moving a lot faster. And actually, that is just physics. I can't believe I made that jump without falling down. I believe if you're on a rotating object, the closer you are to the outside of the object, the faster you're moving, I believe. I actually haven't taken a physics class in a long time. I'm more of a biology person, and that's actually what I'm studying right now in university or college or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, here we are in the final room before the boss door, and like I said, there are 4 Stray Fairies we need to get in here. Fortunately, fortunately, that's not the hardest thing that we're going to have to do in this room. There are some other things we're going to have to worry about, but the main mode of transportation probably in this room is going to be the Deku flowers, because there is a lot of altitude differences that we're going to have to worry about, and once we get up to the highest area, that's where things start really getting cooking, because we have to deal with fire, and we have to deal with a couple of those dragonflies. Luckily, the dragonflies are probably going to be very easy. Very easy. I love how I say that right as I collect that fairy, which is our 14th fairy. Now over here, if I shoot my bow over there, might as well go ahead and take out the dragonflies while I'm at it, and I just put on my Great Fairy Mask, which is why you might have heard that tone, which that tone, by the way, was always one of the more, pleasant tones in the game, I thought. But now that I have all 15, I need to get right back out of this Deku flower and turn back into Human Link, because I forgot to shoot the crystal over there, which will make the fire die down. I think that's close enough. There we go. I think we talked about the crystals earlier, but that's just yet another use you might have for the fairy or the hero's bow. But now that I've done that, there are a couple of ways you can get through this room. What I like to do, the easiest way, I think anyway, is just to jump right here, take off your Deku Mask, jump over to this platform, and then put back the Deku Mask. I don't know if you can fly over to the door to the boss right here or from here, but even if you can, it's probably most safe if you fly over this Deku flower and then fly back up on top of the little pavilion thing housing the crystal right here, because as soon as you go into this Deku flower, it is pretty obvious that you will be able to fly all the way over to the boss door. I'm not going to even worry about getting these red rupees, by the way, because there are Skulltulas right above it. If you're not full on health, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and put on my Deku Nuts. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them yet, but by the way, if you don't have health, these pots around the door will usually have health. Now here we're going to be fighting our first boss in the game. I'm going to go ahead and take off my Deku Mask and let you watch the introduction. And here is the Masked Jungle Warrior Odolwa. I always thought this was a really cool boss. What I like to do is shoot him with an arrow right off the bat because that will stun him. Unfortunately, I did not get him, but if I can hit him with another arrow, there we go. We can get in here and do some damage. Now, if I can get the timing on this just right, you can do the little power crouch stab, and he will never be able to move. I cannot believe I'm getting this timing right. This never happens. Well, guys, I guess that is all there is to the first boss, Odolwa, Masked Jungle Warrior. Maybe I should have shown some of the other attacks that he has, but I never get that trick to work, so I'm very proud of myself, I guess. I hate to say that, but I can't even really explain why, but I am, because that's awesome. I never get to dominate the boss quite that bad. But anyway, here we get a heart container. Now we have 5 full heart containers, and we get to collect over here the remains of Odolwa, which we might use later on. We're going to need that to beat the game. And if we ever have to come back after we reset time to the Woodfall Temple, we can use Odolwa's remains to get back to the boss room without having to go all the way through the temple again. Well, I think that might actually be the longest cutscene we've seen so far in the game, but they're not over. We need to come in here and talk to the Deku Princess, and she is the reason we even came in the Woodfall Temple in the first place. What? Who are you? Kyle, pleased to meet you. I am the Deku Princess. Were you by chance asked by that monkey to come save me? Aha, just as I suspected. You see, your body smells a little bit like monkey. So, the monkey made it back fine after all. That's good. I was worried that when I didn't come home, my father would think that monkey had kidnapped me. I was worried that my father would even go so far as to punish the poor monkey. Ho ho ho! Don't tell me. Are you serious? Is father actually doing that? Yet another hasty decision, father! Well, we haven't any time to lose. Quickly, Mr. Kyle, could you please find something to carry me in so you can take me to the Deku Palace? Well, I mean, I do all my other carrying in bottles, and I do have a bottle. It's full of a fairy, though, right now. Might as well go ahead and dump that out. But after all, I mean, we can't carry full-size human-esque forms and bottles, can we? And apparently we can. We put the Deku Princess in a bottle. It's a tight fit, but she says she'll be fine. We need to get back to the Deku Palace, but it says we need to hurry. I don't really think there's even a time limit other than the 3-day time limit. Right now, there are some things that we could do in Woodfall, which is where we're going to be as we exit the temple right here, that we could do right here. I want to go ahead and, for consistency in the story, go do the last cutscene in the Deku Palace, and I will meet you guys there. And while we're gone, apparently, they put the monkey up there on a spit roast, it looks like, and they're I can't believe we're witnessing this in a Nintendo game. And his deadpan look says everything we really need to know, so we really need to get the princess over here to her father as soon as possible. Oh, my princess! My darling princess, are you alright? I was so worried! Foolish father! What are you doing? Let that monkey go this instant! Oh, Mr. Monkey, I'm truly sorry. Father does such rash things when he's worried about me. I understand, Princess. Forget about that. Has the temple been returned to normal? Why, yes. Thanks to Mr. Kyle here. I am very, truly grateful. Really? So you're called Kyle, are you? Thank you for keeping your promise to me. As a symbol of our gratitude, our butler has prepared a little something for you. Please accept it. You'll find it in the shrine that will be to your right when you leave the palace. And in the next episode, we are going to be doing the thing that she was just talking about, or actually, I don't even know who was talking in that last little bit of dialogue, but she said there was some sort of shrine that we need to go to, and we will be doing that. But also, like I said, when we exited the Woodfall Temple with the princess, I said that there were some things that we need to do in the swamp, and I will be doing those as well in the next episode. But I want to thank you guys for watching this pretty action-filled episode of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and I hope to see you guys back for the next episode.